Hey everybody, I'm Jeanette with the Quiltery, and I'm going to talk about the quilt along that we're doing right now with Bird Talk. Bird Talk by Robin Pickens. We're using exactly what the patterns call for with the thatched, just as the colors are shown. And we're a couple weeks in, so this is actually our fourth video because we took 2 weeks to cut because it was so many pieces. But let me tell you, at this point, I'm talking 20 to 30 minutes to put these birds together each. I mean, it's really, the pieces are cut, it's a little puzzle, you lay it out, you put it together. I'll go through that in just a second. I do want to say, here is our hashtag if you want to see some of the pictures I've posted already and the other quilt-alongs that we're doing or have done. This is through our Instagram. So Robin Pickens Bird Talk has these 4 birds, and we've all decided that we like different birds. I think my favorite is the blackbird. Margot's is the cardinal. I don't know if Maureen voted yet.
I did. I think probably I like the cardinal.
The cardinal as well, which it is beautiful because you have 3 different reds in here, and the pattern does a good job of labeling the light and the medium and the dark red, so it is not confusing in the pattern. So let's talk about how to put these together. So that there's 2 basic blocks. There's a block that has a crest, which is the blackbird and the cardinal, and it has a slightly different than the other birds. So let's do the robin. The robin, you would do 2 columns, 4 rows. Once this group is together and once this group is together, you match this up. This is really your only point that you're trying to match up. And then this goes along the bottom. When you're doing the crested birds, you do the column and the 4 rows, but then these go together with the crest, then add the beak, and then add the feet. It's very well written in the pattern, and if you just follow the little puzzle that she has there, it really comes together quickly. So there were 2 mistakes that I've already told you about, and in case this is your first video, I just want to remind you. On the birds, this one was cut at 8.5, and it should have been 8 inches here. So it's listed as 8.5 on the cutting instructions, but further into the pattern it says 8, so it is correct there. And then also in the background, there is this piece right here is the same on all 4. She has it listed on here as 13.5 in the graphic, but it should be 14 and 2.5 by 2.5. So I have contacted her on all of this, and so hopefully it'll be on her corrections online, but just so you know, just want to be very clear. So we're going to move on this next week to the leaves and the branches. Look at these blues. I'm excited to put the green and the greens together with all the reds. The colors are just so vibrant and beautiful, and that's the thing about thatch that we just love. So this is simple piecing. None of this is applique, and I want to tell you, so there's a couple spots in the birds that you really have a lot of seams coming together. So when you have like these half square triangles coming together, it's a lot of seams. So one thing that I like to do on my machine is your foot pressure. If you go on to, like I have a Bernina, and so it's very easy to see what your foot pressure is. And for Berninas, it's 50 pounds. I turn that down to about 35 pounds, and it's not tension, it's the foot pressure. If you lighten it up and you have all of these together, it doesn't seem to slip and slide as much. For me, that has worked. And even though I do pin as well. So that was just something that I know when I get to some of these points that have a lot of fabric coming together, I get more accurate seams and more accurate points if I just lighten that pressure just a little bit. So that's one tip. Another tip I have is thatched has that white on white design. And so it looks very easy, and it's hard to tell if you are on the right side or the wrong side. And as someone who may or may not have had this happen a couple times, you don't realize it until you're farther away. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no. So one thing I like to do is keep my phone handy, and I have the light on. So I'll have the light on, and if you give it just a slight flash, you can see the difference between the front and the back. So see how there's no shine on the design on this side, but then you flip it to this side and you see the design. So I'm just saying one of the tips that I, because I may or may not have done that, I don't know, a few times. So that's one thing. And then another is to use starch. Now, I do not starch. Margot, who is holding the camera, uses starch a lot. So it really, whatever you prefer. But some people do find that if you give a little starch, and I would highly recommend using Best Press. You can also water this down. Just pour half of it into another bottle with water. I've seen people use vodka. I'm not sure what you use for yours, but there's lots of choices. But having a little bit of starch does help when you have so many pieces. This piece in particular, like the ones that you start getting into that 1 inch, that's where it seems like you need the starch the most, just to get it in the right spot. And I did use starch when I'm working on the hunt and gather, which I will have next week. Some not completed, but I have gotten some progress on that. So what else? So I don't really have anything else to show you because my kids go back to school next week, and we've been running around having a lot of fun. I haven't been sewing as much, and that's just part of the process. So tag us with your progress on Bird Talk. Join us. We still have a kit. We can cut more kits. Use other fabrics. It would be really interesting to see different colors, different textures. Would be really fun. We'd love to see it. So tag us, join us. We'd love to hear from you. So we'll see you next week. Bye.